Hi friends, good morning. Today I am going to teach macro environment of business. Before going to macro environment, I will give a brief introduction. There are so many factors that may affect a business. The factors may be internal factors or external factors. For example, what shall be the value system, who shall be your employees, mission statement that comes under internal environment. External environment is broadly classified into two categories, that is micro environment and macro environment. Immediate relationship with the businessman. For example, your suppliers, local public may come under the category as micro environment. Macro environment consists of a large number of factors. It is technical environment, economic environment, political and legal environment, socio-cultural environment, natural environment, demographic environment, and international environment also. So among all these type of macro environment, today we are going to see in depth about economic environment. Economic environment consists of micro environmental factors and macro environmental factors. I have listed a few micro and macro environmental factors. That is competitors, demand, market size, supply, suppliers, distribution chain comes under macro environment. Unemployment, inflation, interest rate, GDP, exchange rates, consumer confidence comes under macro environmental factors. How these type of factors affect a business, we are going to study in depth. If you take economic conditions, it consists of nature of economy, stage of development of economy, economic resources, and level of income. So how this factor affects a business? For example, if you take a level of income, India is a country where the per capita income is very, very low. So as a businessman, if you offer a product or a commodity which is within the feasibility of Indian consumer, that is the income level of the consumer, means your business can flourish in Indian market. For example, if you take washing machine, in order to meet the needs of Indian consumer, majority of the washing machine companies are coming out with washer only. So such a product is within the feasibility or the income level of the consumer. So the product can flourish or the product can be promoted in Indian market. Whereas if you offer a product or a commodity, for example, if you take an electric car or an autopilot car, which is where the dollars rate itself is $30,000, means it is not within the feasibility or the income level of Indian consumer. So such a product cannot flourish in Indian market. So depending upon the income of the consumer, you have to offer the product so that only your product can flourish in such a place or such a country. Next factor is investment and income. For example, if investment level of the businessman as well as the income level of the consumer are bright, means then the businessman can flourish. Whereas if it is vice versa, the business cannot flourish. And also, what is the type of economy? The economy may have a primary demand or a replacement demand. For example, developed economy means replacement demand. Developing economy means primary demand. So as a businessman, you have to find your market only under primary demand. You cannot flourish well in replacement demand market. For example, take American market. So already each and every individual may have a car. So if you are a car seller, means the demand may be replacement demand rather than primary demand. So you cannot flourish well in American market. Whereas if you take Indian market, that is, there are more scope. So because the type of demand is only primary demand. Next factor is economic policy of government. For example, if you take economic policy of Indian government, it may be a restrictive policy or a relaxed policy. Restrictive import policy means it protects home industries or it safeguards Indian businessman. So Indian businessman can flourish in Indian soil. Next economic factor is if your industry comes under priority sector, means then you can get a lot of incentives and grants from government, so your business can flourish. And also take monetary and fiscal policy. Monetary and fiscal policy plays a very, very important role as far as a businessman is concerned. For example, GST, if you comes under a low tax rate, means your business can flourish. Next factor is concentration of economic power in few hands. So prior policy of government is avoid concentration of economic power. So government enforces a lot of rules and regulations against only dominant undertakings, and it is not against the small scale sector. So if such is the policy of government, dominant undertakings cannot flourish, whereas in the liberalized policy, government has relaxed all the rules. For example, if you take MRTP Act 1972, Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, all these government is concentrating only towards restrictive trade practices. So dominant undertakings can flourish under liberalized policy. Next, if you take New Industrial Policy of Government of India 1991, earlier number of industries reserved for government sector is very, very large number of industries are coming under government sector. So privatization, private sector is not allowed to start industry under these type of categories. That is, industrial licensing rule is there. But according to new industrial policy, number of industries reserved for government sector is limited or reduced only to a few sector. For example, you may take a railway sector, or you may take atomic energy. So these are some of the sectors reserved only for central government. So all the others privatization is allowed. So if privatization list is more, privatization can flourish well according to new industrial policy 1991. Then economic system of a country plays a very, very important role in deciding the fate of a business in a particular country. There are three type of economic system possible in world. That is, it is capitalism, communism, and mixed economy. Capitalism means it encourages privatization. Communism is just the opposite of capitalism, whereby everything is under the control of government. Government itself will plan what is to be produced, what is to be distributed, what is to be available in the market. So in such a case, private businessman cannot flourish well in a country which adopts communism as economic system. India is a country which adopts mixed economy. So both privatization and central planning is there. Communist countries is the best example for communism. So the entire economy is in the hands of government. So consumer freedom as well as businessman freedom will get restricted in communist countries or under communism as economic system. Whereas in India, we encourage both central planning as well as privatization. So private businessman can flourish well, and also consumer is provided with variety of goods and services, and consumer is the king as far as these type of markets are concerned. So today we have seen some of the economic factors which plays a very, very important role in designing the business we have seen. So I think we may be able to understand something about economic environment. Thank you.